Although Theodore Roosevelt created the idea of keeping undeveloped land undeveloped and passed on a meaningful message of conservation, Rick Erickson, Eleanor McKinley, Gene Patterson, and Gordon McKellar followed in his footsteps and showed leadership by bringing a community together to save the undeveloped land in Broomfield. What was left behind was a changed community and plenty of open land that remains untouched.
Theodore Roosevelt inspired the nation to preserve undeveloped land. All of the damage being inflicted on the environment became one of his biggest concerns, so when he became president in 1901, he used his authority to protect the land. He created 150 national forests, 5 national parks, and much more. He protected about 230 million acres of public land during his years as president, and in the process, encouraged others to do the same.
The field is the pride of Broomfield. It is a vast expanse of open land. But the land was once threatened by a company called Johnson's Development. The company had bought the field in 1991, and by 1992 it had plans to build a 433-home subdivision on the 140 acres that made up the area.
There were mixed responses from the Broomfield citizens. Some thought that because Johnson's Development owned the land, they had every right to build on it. Others believed that by developing the land, a beautiful part of Broomfield would be destroyed. On March 2, 1993, the development was denied by Broomfield City Council. Shortly after, Johnson's Development began to sue the city due to the denial. So instead of denying the development, the city decided to attempt to buy the field. However, this buy would be very pricey for the city. Broomfield City Council would have to purchase 118 acres from Johnson's Development at a price of about $40,000 per acre. This added up to a total of about $4.7 million. To fund this, a new sales tax was requested by the citizens. The sales tax would add 0.25% to Broomfield's current tax. The City Council decided to put the issue on the ballot when 500 citizens came to support it. There are 2 separate questions that got placed. The first, 2A, was to approve the 0.25% open space sales tax. The second, 2B, was to approve the purchase of the field. This tax increase would eventually allow the city of Broomfield to buy the field, preventing construction.
In the summer of 1993, a group called Broomfield Citizens for Parks and Open Space was formed in an attempt to get the open space sales tax passed. The people who joined wanted to help campaign and raise money. The theme Keep the Field in Broomfield was created, and the group bought t-shirts to sell to raise money for the cause. However, the purchase of the shirts left little money for other fundings. This was when Rick Erickson got involved. Rick helped sell the t-shirts and raised about $800. They continued to campaign and raise as much money as they could until the election would decide what would be done with the field.
On November 1993, the election for the open space sales tax was held. The second issue, 2B, which was concerning the purchase of the field, passed. However, issue 2A, the sales tax increased, did not, losing by only 28 votes. Yet this was mostly because of misinformation. This led the voters to believe the tax was higher than it really was. This misinformation detrimentally hurt the amount of votes for the sales tax. It was discouraging, but some chose to look on the bright side. The open space sales tax had only lost by 28 votes. Just thinking about how close they were to reaching their goal made some people work even harder to achieve it. If I'm going to spend hours of my time, Rick Erickson said, I'd rather spend it getting the question back on the ballot. He indeed spent much more than hours to see the tax passed.
Leadership means you actually see a goal and you realize that you got certain things that you got to get through, and you realize it's not going to be easy, but you're just going to have to persist, and sometimes it's just a pure willpower that keeps you going. I mean, a lot of times I felt defeated and we got low on cash, but you just got to say, this is the goal, you got to keep focused, you got to keep pounding, and it's just sort of like, it's like a football game. You just got to keep going and going and going. You're never sure you're going to win, but if you don't push it hard, you'll definitely lose.
In the January of 1994, Rick Erickson gathered others, including Eleanor McKinley, Gene Patterson, and Gordon McKellar, to help get the issue of the field back on the ballot. These 4 people showed a great amount of leadership in doing so. They faced what seemed to be insurmountable opposition. All of the established business organizations, such as the Chamber of Commerce and the Realtors Association, opposed the new sales tax. Even the City Council wasn't advocating for it. The council thought that this would hurt the business and growing population of Broomfield, and that open space was not necessary for the community. But this did not stop Erickson, Patterson, McKinley, and McKellar. The group stood up for what they wanted and showed how ordinary citizens could make a difference. They believed that open space was just as important as houses and wanted people to have it. To help get the funding going, they needed to gather more open space supporters. To do this, they got together and wrote open space newsletters, which informed people about open space and its importance in community. As the number of newsletters increased, so did the number of open space supporters. In August 1994, the issue got back on the Broomfield ballot.
Rick Erickson, Eleanor McKinley, Gene Patterson, and Gordon McKellar truly pushed for the open space sales tax. They were the people to follow. Erickson helped recruit more for the Broomfield Citizens for Parks and Open Space Committee, and soon the group had about 20 members. They encouraged the community and gave people a better understanding of the field and how it helped the community.
We sent out newsletters and talked to people, and we realized that many people felt the same way we did, and so we decided to get it back onto the initiative for the next election to try to pass the property tax.
Another effort the committee made was to divide Broomfield into sections for each member to visit. There, they would go door to door to try to persuade the resident to vote for the Broomfield Open Space sales tax. All of this advertising finally paid off in the election. In November 1994, the open space sales tax passed.
One of the things that happened was that people really pulled together, and when it was all said and done, it worked. But it wasn't easy. It was not easy to do it because we felt like we were going to fail at one time because there was so much opposition. But the people the people that worked hard had a passion for it. And when you talk about leadership, I really think the leaders have to have a passion for whatever they're doing.
3 years later, the field was purchased on April 4th, 1997 for $4.6 million. The legacy of this tax can still be seen today. Broomfield's field is flourishing with breathtaking wildlife, beautiful ponds, scenic trails, and so much more. This rich pocket of nature at the heart of Broomfield helps all of its citizens remember the fight to keep it. And there is more to come. Broomfield's comprehensive master plan was adopted in 1995. It set a goal of 40% of Broomfield being open lands. Later on, in 1999, the Broomfield City Council created the Open Space and Trails Advisory Committee. In 2005, the Open Space, Parks, Recreation, and Trails Master Plan was created. This plan laid out in detail what the intentions were for the future of the field and how the city was going to achieve its goal of 40% open lands. Today, Broomfield has 7,875 acres of open land, which is 32.8% of the city. The hard work of preparing the master plans has been paying off in the benefits of the community and environment. All of the open land and trails gives and promotes a more healthy, happy lifestyle for the citizens of Broomfield. Meanwhile, Broomfield's wildlife enjoys a natural and untouched home.
And after 1994, I got actively involved in Broomfield's Open Space program, and I became the chair of the Broomfield Open Space and Trails Committee in 2000, and got elected mayor in 2007. Broomfield's Open Space is our pride. When you talk to citizens of Broomfield, they talk about open space and trails as one of the major reasons why they moved here, and none of that would have occurred without Rick Erickson and the leadership of that group of people back in 1994.
The great wilds of our country, once held to be boundless and inexhaustible, are being rapidly invaded and overrun in every direction, and everything destructible in them is being destroyed. This quote from John Muir conveys that humans simply need to stop destroying the natural world, and with leaders such as Rick Erickson, Eleanor McKinley, Gene Patterson, and Gordon McKellar, maybe we will.